Play now, buddy. Welcome, everybody, to NFL Draft Live, a new show counting down to, of course, the NFL Draft. We got just over 3 months and a couple weeks until things get going. Really excited for this. Jake Shavink here, obviously, and Nate Williamson, of course, here. Nate, how are you doing on this fine Thursday evening?
I'm good, man. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm going to be taking my first trip to Dallas-Fort Worth area. Might try and convince the girlfriend to swing by the Cowboys stadium over there in Arlington and see what's up with that, just to hang out for a little bit. But, yeah, man, we're hanging in there.
Potential Super Bowl host location.
Yeah.
Should there be more issues with COVID? That's kind of wild. That's very cool. Yes, so here, Thursday night, we are going to be talking about a few things tonight on the first NFL Draft Live on YouTube and Twitter. If you are on Twitter, your comments may not go through. Little disclaimer there. They're still working on it on StreamYard, but if you're on YouTube, like Smitty is, then he knows where to be.
Zach,
but yeah,
I thought we were cool, dog.
He ratioed me, not you. So, but yeah, so we're going to talk a little national championship game, talk about the prospects from that, just what stood out to us. Then we'll get into the Jaguars, and we're going to talk about a ton when it comes to them. They have a lot to do this offseason, Nate, to put it lightly, I would say. So we'll get into that. And if you've got questions on the draft, on the NFL, you want us to pick the wildcard game, super wildcard weekend stuff, fine. We'll do it. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's jump in right away, Nate, and let's talk about the national championship. Georgia, we've got a new champ, finally, for the first time since 1980, and they oust Alabama 33-18. Great for Kirby Smart. Happy for the Georgia fans. Stetson Bennett, how about it?
What a story!
How about making Kirby Smart look like a genius?
Yeah.
When a lot of people were calling for him to be done and go to JT Daniels.
Yeah, what an absolute story. It's just his story for me is up there. And honestly, I hate to say this, but I think it even surpasses, the epic comeback story that is the Joe Burrow story, which was awesome in its own right.
It was.
What about the last 3 years, the storylines that we've gotten just out of that one championship game? Once a year for 3 years, it seems like we've had great stories back to back to back. It's been awesome.
Yeah. This was the best part, as Smitty put it there, and Smitty apparently also lost 200 on the Natty. Listen, the favorites were 3-0 if you're betting the spreads. So that's just something to keep in mind for next year when there's two elevated, talented teams facing two teams that are fringe should they be there. But yeah, Bennett was. There was the photo of all the high noons, and he said he had an interview in the morning. So to assume anything else would have been, it was incredible.
At least it's decent taste. I mean, high noons are nice.
They are good. I'm quite surprised. I figured it'd be something else, but they had a lot of fun. So let's talk just what prospects, Nate, maybe showed out to you, at least at first glance from this game. Obviously, I think before the draft, we're going to be going to this game a lot more in terms of draft prospects. So what stood out to you most?
Yeah, I mean, it really was just kind of a couple of guys that stood out. And, it was really impressive. I think one that I had a big eye on, and I think we'll be talking about later, I just want to bring up off the forefront, is Evan Neal. I know he was on the opposite side of the winning team, but just fun to watch him and know, he's got a chance to go number one to who we're going to talk about later in the show. I, as someone who loves to watch the big guys in the trenches, watching his performances over the season and even in that game, have been really, really fun. So that's one that immediately comes to mind for sure.
Yeah. Evan Neal, we're definitely going to be talking about that in the great debate when we get to the Jaguars a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, he definitely has improved a lot, and that's saying something for a guy who was, again, in a lot of people's top 10s, top 7s, really coming into the season, to where I think the balance issues, where you saw it in pass protection, where guys like DeMarvin Leal, who I'm sure we're going to talk about at some point before the draft, gave him
Yeah.
problems last year. And you saw him just, again, be rock solid, stand up. Dude gets after it in the run game, and he's really quick for someone of that size. I think it's not even a stretch to say, you talk about what Mekhi Becton did a couple years ago now at the combine, like Evan Neal. I think all bets are off.
Yep.
Just saying. I think there's a chance that we could see some excellent numbers once again for a guy that size.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in a pretty big population that don't like to watch the big guys at the combine because that big, like the 40, it's not that fun to watch them run the 40, but when you watch this guy go into like the bench and stuff like that, it's just going to be I like what you said. I think all bets are off, man.
Yeah,
He is an animal in the best way possible.
I honestly want to watch him do the broad jump so bad.
Yeah,
that's going to be the one where you look at Evan Neal and you're like, holy crap, can he explode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as always, Nakobe Dean's going to be in tons of talks about, when you look at this game overall, just because of how I think instinctual he is. Combine that with the speed, he can cover ground. I think when we talk about linebackers a lot, we fall in love with the athletic linebackers because we get to see them move around and you're like, wow, can he move for a player like that and stuff? When you have that sort of movement skill, you can overcome maybe some eye discipline issues at the college level.
Yeah.
At the pro level, where everything's much faster and you have to diagnose quickly, the guys with bad eyes are going to get weeded out. And that's just the case. Nakobe Dean is different. He's got both. Mm-hmm. And as another team, I don't think the Jaguars go this direction, but you never know. I mean, they could still be looking for a leader in the middle of the defense. But I mean, for somebody like, even I put them in a recent mock draft as well, the Chargers. I don't think it's out of the question because we all know who, we love that Kenneth Murray pick back then. We were one of two from the first round on that one. But yeah, Kenneth Murray, you've seen Tranquil, all these guys, they could use a linebacker. Eagles could use one for sure. I don't see him escaping the first at all.
No, definitely not. When you win the Butkus Award, if you have, like you said, that important vision, that ability to shoot gaps and create utter chaos, you don't typically find yourself sliding that far, if at all, out of the second, that's for sure. But definitely a first-round grade for him. I think he's a top 20 prospect. I think he just causes chaos, and he's sideline to sideline, one of those linebackers that's just an absolute workhorse. He's everywhere. Yeah. And another game record from that game, same team, Jordan Davis is a guy that I mean, you got to mention him, right? Arguably, he came in as a 3-star recruit, for Pete's sake. Like, I'm one of those guys. I know some people that'll be new probably won't realize this, but I'm a huge high school recruiting fan. I think it's fun. I think it's a crazy game, especially now that they can pretty much pay kids before they get out of high school. Maybe not over the table, but they've been doing it for a long time anyway. And one team that's probably been doing it for a while, Georgia, probably. I would wager. Yeah,
I would say so.
Every SEC team, more like, unless
you're SEC in general, yes.
Maybe not Vanderbilt. If they are,
no, I don't know.
They're not doing it right. If they
listen,
they're not doing it right.
They've got to work on it. Maybe if they have, but
it's a work in progress.
Yeah,
but Jordan Davis, man, he just eats up blocks. Talk about a game record, like an absolute game record.
I mean, and you can go back to the SEC title game and look at it as well. Just getting guys out of his way quickly, violent hands, great pop. This is a guy who, I don't know. It'll be interesting because I know we're going to talk about Jordan Davis a lot more and just where he goes because of are you taking him off the field on third down? And I think there are going to be teams that are going to be okay with, this guy's just going to absolutely dominate for us. If we do a lot of quarters, if we're going to be sitting back in the Staley defense, the Joe Barry defense, that type of look where you just need a run stuffer. I don't see why the value drops for a guy like him because you're asking him to control so much and free people up and allow safeties to get in their gaps a lot in their alleys and get linebackers into their gaps. There's just so much he can do for you. I agree. I think one guy that we're going to talk about more too, but like Lewis Seen, I mean, in a safety class that we know who the top guy is because he's just that good. Like Lewis Seen can, he's a great example of a guy who maybe isn't going to be the best athlete per se, but he's just high football IQ, strong hitter, knows where he needs to be in that defense. And I just think when you have high IQ guys like that, the NFL is going to love those type of players. Truthfully.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. Jake, I'm sitting here patiently waiting. I'm patiently waiting for one guy that we're going to talk about. I know it's a tough situation right now.
Okay. You want to go there? I'm good with going there.
I think we need to go there.
All right.
Because I want him on my certain team.
So Nate's like, can we just talk about the guy who would have run a 4.28 at the combine, please?
Talk about the guy who actually deserves a private island. Talk about that guy.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, Jameson Williams. The dang artificial turf gets another, and it's really unfortunate because this guy comes out, has 1,400 yards in the regular season, 15 touchdowns, unbelievable, deep threat, tempo, speed, all of this to his game with a wide catch radius and good size. Gets hurt, tears his ACL. And really, honestly, kind of changed the game a little bit. I won't say that Georgia necessarily loses if Williams plays the whole game, but he opened up a lot more things for that offense. And again, they struggled in the red zone a ton. And when you have somebody like that, you can get the ball too quick. It changes a lot of things for you. But yeah, let's talk about this. ACL, don't know when we're going to see him next, really. Obviously declared for the draft, though. So we could see him out on the stage. The real question, I think, Nate, is where does he go now? Where do we see him go? Because I think when you talk about Williams 5 days ago, this dude was top 15. Yeah. Raiders looking at him, Saints, Browns, like those
early
teams
to
in that
first,
ewry.
Easily.
Jets, maybe even the Jets at 10.
Yeah.
I don't think that's crazy either. But now what do we do?
And now you don't really know. And, we don't have all of the specifics. How far through was that ACL injury? If it's a clean tear, that's actually easier. It sounds worse, but that's easier to repair and easier to come back from. We've seen it with several athletes. Some people even get more athletic, as weird as that sounds, after they tear an ACL. In the long run, if this guy slides out of the second, I will be shocked. If he slides into the middle of the second, I will be shocked. He seems like a guy that we could see go to a team in the first, willing to kind of take a risk on it. A risk, it is a risk, but it's a small one. But he could also be one of those guys we see somebody trade up into the early second for and pull off the board after they have their locked in first pick. I mean, before he got hurt, the guy was averaging 21.3 yards per in the SEC. It's just insane. Alabama didn't play the toughest schedule this year, but it's a lot dang tougher than a lot of other Power 5 schools.
He ended up Georgia in the SEC title game.
Yeah.
For a pair of them.
Yeah.
He is something special in terms of explosion. And really, we talk about body control and being able to go over the middle, make some tough plays near the ground. Like, he does some things that Ruggs didn't do with a guy of that speed. I think Waddle, he has more size, a little bit bigger, taller, I guess you could say. Still lean frame, but like a little bit taller than Waddle, who can do a lot of these things. Separation quickness is real with him.
Yeah.
I just wonder who's gonna be like, all right, this is basically probably a redshirt year for him for the most part, unless you say if it's clean and maybe he works hard to get back. Maybe you see him in October or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe. I still November, December probably seems more likely, and that just means potentially no season at all. So this is it just really hurts for a guy like that because he's going to get the bag. And to drop 16, 17 spots from where you're potentially going to be picked is unfortunate. But
it's tough to drop 5 picks. When you're up in that top 15, top 20 range, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars difference.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know that
it might be millions.
It's significant.
Like
it's definitely significant.
Yeah, if you're a top 10 pick, and then you're kind of like a later first, there's a significant, I think millions in terms of what he makes over the rookie deal. I mean, if I'm the Packers and he falls,
yeah, it's hard to say no.
No shot I'm passing. No shot.
Yeah.
He's way too good to pass on. So that's where you sit there if you're the Lions, right? And or you're the Jaguars even, and you're at the top of the second round, and this guy might fall in the 20s. Do you make that move maybe? If you're the Lions or Jags, do you move up for a guy like this, knowing, oh yeah, we're in this long rebuild? Yeah, he's going to miss most or all of the season. Do we care enough?
Yeah.
Because we want this talented guy on our team to play with Trevor Lawrence. We want this guy on our team to play with Jared Goff or whoever's after Jared Goff, both. So like,
if we're being honest, right? If we're setting it all out on the table, full chips, full cards on the table.
Yeah.
This year is going to be a redshirt year for the entire Jacksonville Jaguars team. You're not fixing it in one offseason.
No.
You're just not.
No.
Unless you hire us to do it, in which case we're going to do it in like 20 minutes. Yeah. I promise.
Right, low-key.
It's just, imagine pairing him up with Trevor Lawrence if he comes back at 80% of what he was.
Could you imagine just being, again, like, if you're, because obviously DJ Chark's a free agent, and we're going to get into that as well, but like this receiver room in Jacksonville needs help.
It needs
just
help.
Just get this guy some weapons. And
don't tell anyone, but the entire team needs a lot of help, so it's okay.
Yeah, so I think it's time. Let's we've pretty much transitioned. Very seamlessly, honestly. It was very good. We didn't even have to say anything, but now I ruined it by saying something.
Oh, also don't forget Trayvon Walker. Important.
Oh,
Trayvon Walker.
That's going to be an interesting one declaring. That's what I want to know. If he's going to declare, then we're going to talk. Dane Brugler has him like a top 10, 12 player.
Dude, the potential is
in
crazy.
The entire draft.
Freakishly long.
Freakish mover. Quick. Like, how is this not like I guess Odafe Owe was faster, more explosive, but Trayvon Walker's like 270 and does what he can do. Like, yeah,
I wouldn't eat against.
I would not be surprised. Philadelphia, that just screams Eagles. That screams a lot of teams if he falls.
I almost let him slip. I think he's going to declare. That's my official statement.
That's you think. Okay, there you
go.
That's
my official thesis. Backed by
unofficial, unofficial insider Nate Williamson says Trayvon Walker
for Georgia football
will declare. Is Brooks your source?
Football.
Is Brooks your source, Nate? Tell us.
No, I don't have sources nearly. My source is just the homeless guy outside of my apartment.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's fix the Jaguars. I think it starts with this, I would say. Who should be the next head coach of this Jaguars team? Because honestly, like, names have been thrown out. There's a Doug Peterson, who's been, I guess, linked to both Florida teams at this point, with rumors. Obviously, there's two guys who could come back to Jacksonville who have previously been there. One played quarterback there. The other was an offensive coordinator there. Nathaniel Hackett, Byron Leftwich, one of those two guys potentially.
I was going to say Byron would be a really nice
I think
fit.
Probably we both would pick Byron Leftwich. It sounds like from Nate's reaction to me talking about Byron Leftwich.
Pretty much a no-brainer for me.
It feels like one, doesn't it?
But you know who the odds-on favorite is right now?
Who is the odds-on favorite?
He is a current college coordinator.
College coordinator.
Former NFL coach.
Oh, yes. Bill O'Brien, of course. Good times. Yes.
Not Bill again. O'Brien, please don't do that.
So I think the biggest thing when you talk about Bill O'Brien is not necessarily offensive principles, what he runs. I'm not totally worried about that. And I think someone brought it up. It makes sense. Do so. What's up, guy?
What's up, guy?
How you doing?
My guy.
But it's really about how he handles things with the front office, how he handles things is what he kind of was pseudo GM in Houston, all that kind of nonsense, that riffing with organization. That's just not what you want if you're the Jaguars. You want somebody who is going to unfortunately communicate well with retaining GM Trent Baalke, which I know Jaguars fans are not happy about. So you have to find somebody who's going to mesh well enough to bring in, and I hope it's not Bill O'Brien. I don't. I think he meddles his way into too much. Wants too much control. He wants to be Belichick. He's not.
No. I mean, this isn't his fault, but look at where the Texans are right now.
Listen, he was definitely GM. He made some trades. Let's just say those were bad trades.
He made a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, understandably, Laramie Tunsil is very, very good.
Yeah.
Let's put that out there. But that was a lot to give up.
That was a weird situation.
And we don't even need to talk about the DeAndre Hopkins nonsense that was that trade. So again, that's the problem. Like, do you really want that guy in there? I don't think Jaguars fans want him at all.
I wouldn't. I don't think Shad Khan is looking for a Bill O'Brien with this hire. I think Shad Khan is looking for a younger, like not unexperienced, but a younger guy who can mesh with the team with the new chemistry. You know, Jacksonville, it's not exactly the youngest community, but they need something. They need an energizer. You know, this franchise needs something new before they get relocated to London or something. You know?
Well, they might do that anyway, but
Byron, get ready, pack your bags,
if you're
man.
Thinking Energizer Bunny type deal with this head coach. Where do you lean? And does Kellen Moore enter the conversation for you at all? For me, I'll say with Kellen Moore, I think it's maybe a year, maybe 2 years early for him.
Yeah.
Just a hair early for him, I think, to run a team.
Yeah. It's just a little early. He definitely has to be in the conversation. You know, someone that might interest them is Josh McDaniels. You know, someone that might interest them, Jim Caldwell.
Jim Caldwell would be interesting, actually.
Would be a different one, you know.
I like Jim Caldwell, actually. I wouldn't hate that at all.
O'Brien's offense would be too vanilla for that team.
I wouldn't even honestly like too vanilla wouldn't be horrible if they had enough right now, at least in the receiver room, where you're like, oh, we can bring in one guy in the draft or one guy in free agency. No, this receiver room needs an entire overhaul. Like they can't live on the vanilla stuff if they don't have personnel who can kind of create on their own within the vanilla. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I get that as well.
LSU just landed another transfer. They're just stealing everybody right now.
Except for Rick's, right?
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, that was random. I just got the notification. I had to bring it up.
But yeah, Nate, who do you who would you hire right now if you're the Jaguars?
Right now, I think it's like we said. I think it's Leftwich. You know, if we go into other options, I'm not considering Bill O'Brien. You know, Darryl Bevell. Even Jim Caldwell. I'm just not a huge B.O.B. guy. I just think that is a situation you don't really want to get yourself into. Do I think he'll head coach in the NFL again? Probably. Will it be with them? No.
He just seems like a great fit for the Giants. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I go Leftwich or Caldwell. I actually think Caldwell will be fine. I think Caldwell goes about his business very well. I think he will be a great he's not the really animated type of guy that you see a Sean McVay be. He's very much a quiet, very even keeled type of leader. And I think his offense did really well. I think he did well having to make a Detroit team adjust without Calvin Johnson, right? They had to adapt into more of a, we got to dink and dunk this around. We got to be quick game. We got to do a lot more. So that's where I would say, Jim Caldwell can do that. And I think Lawrence is a good enough distributor. He's a great quarterback. Just give him something, anything.
Yeah. And if you have a GM who's notable for not getting along with head coaches, Jim Caldwell is a good guy to bring in there.
And Guy said Peterson. That's a possibility. With more levels, a more quick game, intermediate game. Yes, I see Jesse as well, Nate. I don't know.
Jesse, go to class.
But yeah, Doug Peterson would be interesting as well. Wouldn't hate that. But I do think I would prefer Caldwell or Leftwich because I think, again, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, now Trevor Lawrence is going from, again, Clemson's offense to Urban Meyer's offense to another offense. 3 years.
It's tough. That's hard.
3 offenses.
He's
I think
smart,
he can do it.
He's really
I think he
smart,
can do it.
So,
but obviously he needs more help, and that's kind of where we're going to go next. So we've kind of gone there. Free agency next. Obviously for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're very procedural on this channel. We were like this when we hosted the NFL Mocks podcast. We did a very procedural thing. We obviously go to free agents that the Jacksonville Jaguars have, and it's quite a bit. The receiver room is going to get kind of gutted. DJ Chark is a free agent.
Yeah,
that one hurts a lot. Off injury.
He go.
So you have Marvin Jones for another year. Yikes. That's good. The tight end room, other than Dan Arnold,
Yeah, it's
don't
not
love
great.
it.
And
Luke
Dan Arnold
Farrell,
really.
man hurts. I think the biggest problem here, and again, I know people are we've talked about we're going to get to the draft, but I want to jump there for a second. And we talk about Hutchinson, we talk about Tibbs.
Yeah.
Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, AJ Cann are all free agents.
Jeez.
It's a lot of offensive linemen that are free agents. Jawan Taylor hasn't found it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people liked him coming out in the draft. Obviously, injury made him fall a little bit to the early second round where the Jacksonville picked him.
Mm-hmm.
There are questions there. Ben
I think
Bard,
if you actually revisit some of our old stuff, I was a big Jawan Taylor guy.
I think a lot of people were, because I think, again, there was a lot athletically. And again, he looked like, again, a lot of people who need a right tackle.
Yeah.
Just plug him over there because he's comfortable there. And, he was successful there. Then you have Brandon Linder, your center, who's a free agent in 2023, as is Taylor. We talked about, I briefly mentioned Ben Barch, who the small school guy everybody fell in love with in the draft process, the results. So, there's a lot there. Taven Bryan, who was a first-round pick, is a free agent now. Feels like a while back that he was a first-round pick. Jihad Ward is a free agent. There's
it's going to be an overhaul.
It's going to be an overhaul. Luckily, you feel like, hopefully, in the secondary, Shaquille Griffin, Tyson Campbell, you hope is going to take that step as a corner, and you have Andre Sisco, who finally played snaps, even though Urban Meyer said he played a lot of snaps during the season, which was a lie. But yeah, I mean, overall, Nate, what is there anybody you're dying to bring back initially, if you've gone through and you've heard any names that you'd like? I don't know if you're on Spo Track as well.
I'm not. Actually, I should be.
I am, because I opened both tabs and was going through it. I mean, at least I would think, if you really are, and we're jumping ahead again to the draft, if you really are want one of those defensive ends,
you
got to bring Cam Robinson.
You have to do what you can. Yeah,
you have to bring Cam Robinson back.
Cam Robinson, and one of those things, maybe an Andrew Norwell or an AJ Cann.
Maybe one of them. Yeah, maybe
not both. Do not bring back both. Just don't do it.
Guy says Jags would pick number 1 2023.
Honestly, I want the odds to that. I want to know the odds on that.
I think until last year,
some money on that.
I think actually until last year, they had never picked one until they picked Lawrence. Could you imagine having it 3 in a row after never picking one?
Oh my Lord.
Because they were 96, I think was their first year.
The clown suits would be out in fuller force.
Oh my gosh.
Although they won when they did that, so maybe that needs to be.
Maybe that's a thing. Yeah, maybe that's a thing
Clowns.
you have to keep doing. But yeah, Nate, do you bring back Chark, or do you kind of just?
There's a lot of guys kind of coming out in the free agency. If you don't bring back Chark, you could target somebody like a Chris Godwin that might hit the open market.
Bring A-Rob back. Hey, if it's 1 year and you can show me, if it's a show me deal, that's fine. But I'm not. I mean, if Terran Armstead.
Yeah.
If you want to go that direction, I don't hate that at all.
There are two guys from the Saints free agent class I could see them being heavily invested in. And I know we're talking about the wide receiver room. Terran Armstead, Marcus Williams. Two big money signings that you'd have to really fight for and convince. Because Marcus Williams does not want to go to a losing team. You'd have to pay him.
And he's 25. He's 25. Yeah. He's looking for the bag, but he may still want to be on a competent franchise.
Yeah. I mean, he just came off of a team that played a quarter of their starters all season and almost made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's wild.
So
Sean Payton, well done.
Well done, man. Well done.
But yeah, I mean, this is the thing often we talk about with these teams too in free agency is, you look at them and you go, well, we can bring in all these guys because we have, I think it said 61 million in cap space. I'm pretty sure I saw that number when I was looking just now. But it's like, why bring all of those guys in that are like 28, 30, 31? Like, this is a long build. Like, they might not be around for it. Like, this is, I think if you're a team that like the Lions, like the Jags, I think you specifically target 1 or 2 guys. And then if, you want to bring in like the vet minimums, 1 million year deals on other guys like that, that makes sense. But if you're like we need to find one or two guys who can fit this, into what we want to do and get them here. Like Dwayne Brown, 36 left tackle. I don't think so. This is not like, oh, we're winning now type of thing, right? Maybe even Armstead, who's past 30. Do you not do that? He's been injured.
Yeah.
Do you not do that? Do you maybe just say, okay, well, if we're going to bring Cam Robinson back, let's bring Cam Robinson back. He's 26.
Yeah, he's young.
He's done enough, or again, they could feel good enough about, I've heard good things from some people on Jaguars Twitter about Walker Little, who was a second-round pick last year, who has apparently played well-ish down the stretch. Is that enough? Maybe you look at guard, then you bring that back. I don't know. There's a lot that they're going to have to sort out in free agency. They have room.
Yeah.
And I think somebody said this too, is like, well, go ahead, Nate. Go ahead.
If you want just okay, there's a lot of just okay options.
Yeah, you could go the Texans route.
Oh, God.
Sign a bunch of guys to one-year deals?
Yeah, and just let them fight for it? I don't know. This is a Hunger Games of the NFL. It might be.
I don't know, man.
There's guys going to be on the market like Brandon Scherf. But if you want to stay a little younger, like under 30, Trenton Brown from New England will be a free agent. And if you're willing to open the door to those older guys, over 30, you have the mid-range guys, Brandon Scherf, Andrew Norwell, 30-ish for both of them.
Yeah.
That opens a lot of avenues. It also costs more money. So, it really depends on how heavily you value those top edge rushers in the draft versus how heavily you order these free agents. Right. If you want to go and fix the offense, which fix is a weird word for that, but improve the offense.
Build a foundation.
Build that stone wall for your house.
Yeah.
Guys like Mike Gesicki are going to be on the market. It depends on where you want to invest your money. We've seen what a good tight end can do for an offense. But if your guy is constantly getting murdered in the backfield, what good does a new receiver or a new tight end off the free market do for you? Yeah. I value experience in the offensive line over most things, which means those guys that are 31, 32, that's fine. Bring them on, and they might last to 35. If they don't, you get maybe 3 years. And that's a decent amount of time to draft and groom a replacement as well.
Yeah. So I think if I'm going to throw out like one or two free agents to go get, I honestly would really think about Allen Robinson on a 1-year deal if he wants to do it. Another guy, I don't know if Seattle's going to let him go. Rasheem Green, if you're not bringing back Jihad Ward, can do a lot of the same things. He's 24 and he's played well for Seattle. If you really want to keep that front up and kind of stay in that direction where you have again, and Jacksonville's invested a ton in the front in terms of the draft, in terms of free agency. That's what they do. Get guys who can get after the quarterback. You have Josh Allen, Kayvon Chason. It hasn't happened yet. So again, you kind of have to. You kind of go after one, two guys. Maybe you go Gallup. Maybe you go Godwin if they're willing to move over. I can't imagine Godwin moves on from Tampa Bay, but you kind of have to pick your targets pretty much in this.
You'd have to throw him the bag, I would think.
Yeah, Godwin's gonna have to get the bag. Somebody
or have some form. I just don't know what you have to offer for a free agency. Jacksonville's got a lot of work to do because what do you offer? What do you have to offer them besides some money?
They do.
They have cap space.
Like if you're gonna go, and I think in this too, if you're gonna go the receiver route, Will Fuller barely played this year, but he's 27, and he's a speed threat, and he can win deep. And Trevor Lawrence, we know, has the arm to do so. Why not?
At this point,
I wouldn't hate
better
that.
to take a cheaper risk.
Yeah,
because you know that you are going to have to wait for the pieces that you do have right now to grow.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence isn't going to win you a Super Bowl next year unless he's maybe on the Bucks. And even then, will he? I don't know.
I don't know. I think Jameis Winston could have potentially with the Bucks roster they have now.
Me too.
Could Lawrence do enough? I think he might.
I mean, Jameis Winston was like 6-1 with this Saints offense, so he probably could have won a Super Bowl with this Saints offense, who doesn't have any wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, moving back to what we were talking about, but Yeah, it's a very fine line you have to walk in terms of free agency for the Jaguars. You have to, like we said, how many guys are sticking around for this full rebuild? How many guys, are you going to be like, yes, we want this guy on our team for 5 years? It's going to be tough. And I think maybe bringing back Cam Robinson is the way to go. Maybe you bring back one of Norwell or Can. It's going to be tough sledding because, like you said, this isn't like, other than the weather, this isn't a destination right now in free agency that you want to be.
No.
4 years ago, you could get away with saying that.
Yeah.
Because they were almost in the Super Bowl because they should have been in the Super Bowl because Miles Jack wasn't down. But
it's not
beside the point. But
not great there.
Yeah. Okay.
At the moment.
We've kind of gone through free agency a little bit, and it's like we said, it's just tough sledding. It's going to be difficult to figure out how to attack it because new head coach, this roster is gutted. Do you just bring back guys out of familiarity? Maybe you do. And you kind of roll with defensive line. But I do think offensive line needs an upgrade, Nate, and that's where we're going right now to the NFL draft.
Yeah.
This is NFL Draft Live, obviously. So where do we go at number 1, Nate? That's the question. Everybody wants to know what happens at 1. What do you do? It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy answer.
It's not.
It is.
You got to protect Trevor Lawrence. That is your main objective in this draft. Protect your potentially, not to put too much on him. I mean, this dude, mostly all, thought this is a generational prospect.
Yeah.
Protect him.
At the very least, carries that very, I wouldn't say rare, but like well earned, and it does. You don't give this out to everybody. It's a true, like you give out the top 10 grade to some guys, these guys are blue chip type of players.
Yeah.
So like Nate said, I think you got to protect him.
Evan Neal.
And Guy agrees that should be Neal.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even see that.
And I think either way, even if you're like, yes, we like this Walker Little guy, we like what he does on the left side.
Yeah.
You need both tackle spots, people.
You do.
And I know, guess what? It's not sexy to take a guy who's going to play right tackle potentially for you. I get it. But
didn't he start at guard for 2 years too?
He's been a lot of places, but yes, he was 2020. He was the starting right tackle opposite Leatherwood, and now he moves over obviously for 2021. He's been fantastic. And I feel like, I don't know, we kind of put Hutchinson and Thibodeau on this high pedestal of like, oh yes, these guys are Bosa, Chase Young level players. And I'm kind of like, I don't know. I think they're just maybe a step down, which isn't a bad thing.
That's still a great player.
But like, I don't know if they're quite to the level of these Nick Bosas that we're talking about. Nick Bosa was phenomenal as a rookie. Phenomenal as a rookie. So was his brother. Like these guys, they don't come around that often, even though it feels like they have recently. So when you have guys like that, and I've pointed this out because I did a mock draft on YouTube, if that's where you're watching, where the Jags did take Neal at 1, and there was a lot of people who were like, you could get offensive line later. It's not always the same class. The class isn't the same every year. So right now, Nate, I don't know where you are in terms of the big guys. I know it's your favorite position, though. But like after Evan Neal, after a Charles Cross, after an Ikem Ekwonu, who's the 4th tackle coming off the board? And when? Probably Penning, I guess.
It's
if he has a strong Senior Bowl.
Or is it Petty Frere? I don't remember.
Petit Frere.
Ohio State.
Petit Frere
is another guy that could be up there.
Yeah.
Him or Penning. I keep thinking of interior guys like Zion.
I know the interior guys. They got some studs.
There's some studs, and that's not true every year. So that's another kind of sneaky mid-round pick, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, at another time. But for right now, you kind of hit all the top names there.
Yeah.
On the tackle spot. And really, if you're gonna go tackle, I think it's Neal. If you're not gonna go Neal, you're going, Thibodeau or somebody on the DL. You buff those positions up.
Yep.
That is the name of the game. You win the game in the trenches.
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, and I'll say this is I think there are a lot of questions with tackle after the first three. Yeah. There might even be some with Equinu, who I think they're more of the O-line guys are kind of like, yeah, his sets are okay. There's still a lot of room for improvement. Like, what does that mean for year one? I don't know. Like that could mean he's one of those guys like Andrew Thomas, who again had that rough rookie season and then has to get there in year two and kind of reach that level that a lot of people are talking about. I mean, heck, Becton was injured all year this year.
Yeah.
Right. Like there are still question marks. Jedrick Wills went the first. The jury's kind of still out even.
Yeah. It's up in the air still.
When you have this guy like Evan Neal here, it's hard for me to pass because again, you mentioned Petit Frere, Hutchinson, Ebiketie, Ojabo, they worked him. They worked him when they're pinning their ears back and rushing the quarterback. They worked him. Jackson Kirkland was a favorite of a lot of people. He struggled against the Michigan guys. I think there are a lot of guys who are good in the run game in this class, but as pass protectors have a lot of questions. Hopefully the Central Michigan duo, they answer the call down in Mobile. Hopefully Penning answers the call down in Mobile.
Yeah. You know who actually is ranked higher in the draft networks, like top 100, is Equinu.
Yeah.
He's number 5.
Bleacher Report at one point, I think, had him as their number 2 player.
Yeah.
So there
a lot of people are in his camp.
There are a lot of people who like, again, and why not? The dude finishes people like nobody's business.
True.
But I will say, Charles Cross, if you want a pass protector, oh my word, footwork, balance, anchor. Wow. Is he something else? Equinu's more of the bullier, get after you, run game, does okay in pass protection, does better. But Charles Cross against SEC competition all year long. Will Anderson, BJ Ojulari, guys we're going to be talking about next year. He played really well. Mm-hmm. And if you want that pass protector in Charles Cross, I wouldn't even hate that at 1, honestly. And that may be a little surprising for people to hear as well.
Yeah.
I just think if you look up and down edge right now, it's kind of loaded.
Yeah, it is. It is. And that leads to some of the strategies that we've seen in the past with teams that have had this high pick. You know, if you know teams as well really, really, really want an edge rusher at number 1, what if you trade it down, even a couple spots just to see and get that capital? If you're the Jaguars, you literally cannot go wrong by getting more draft picks.
No.
It opens a lot of situations. It opens a situation where you pick Neal at number 1 and you go down the board and trade back up or, use another pick on your defensive line.
And I do think it is interesting. I think the one team and the biggest thing with the trade is finding that partner, because right now I don't think if you're the Lions or the Texans, you're going to move up necessarily. Mm-hmm. The Giants might. If they feel like quarterback's good enough and they're not moving up for a quarterback, maybe they are moving up for a quarterback.
Oh,
I don't know.
Giants.
Like what are they? They got 2 of them. They got 2 in the top 7.
Yeah.
Maybe they want to move up and you feel comfortable with the Neal and Cross as your 2 blue chip guys at tackle. And you're like, okay, we're good with either one of these. Yeah. Let's do this. And you feel confident enough that you can get one of those 2 moving back 4 spots. Great. That's great. You picked up more capital. Love that. But if you go edge, Nate, do you pick Hutchinson or Thibodeau?
Right now, for me, and this is still pretty early in.
Yeah.
I think for me, if you're going to take him for the Jags, I think I'm going to go Thibodeau right now.
Okay.
A guy that's had first pick talks, obviously. He's a game changer. Incredible athleticism, a really high upside. He's got a great burst off the line. And, even down to the skills that are kind of random, like the long speed, this guy has it. Hutchinson, big time performer, really experienced and productive.
Yeah.
Sometimes that doesn't translate as well at the next level. We could see Hutchinson make a bigger impact right off the bat, but Thibodeau's long-term floor, econ always confused me. The top one.
Ceiling is the roof?
The ceiling is the roof,
yeah.
And it is higher in this case.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when you're looking at, a Hutchinson who could, again, be an 8-sack guy tomorrow, in the NFL potentially. There are some length concerns, no doubt, but he's been productive. He's done it against top competition. He shows up when it matters most. But I'll tell you what, Thibodeau really hasn't unlocked as much as a pass rusher yet. That's scary. He is darn good as a run defender, plays good leverage, good pad level. Like, he gets his hands in tight and can shed quickly. And when you've got like that opposite Josh Allen, that's, I mean, hey.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was the number one player in his class out of high school. You know, we're talking about a guy in Thibodeau, of course, if that wasn't clear. Good instincts on the rush. You know, he's got to work on that pass rush, like you said. But, you know, he can play in an even front. He can play in an odd front. I think his right fit is probably a 4-3. I don't know if you'd agree with that. But with Hutchinson, he reminded me a little bit of Trey Hendrickson. You know, a guy that we've seen kind of come out.
That's not bad. Yeah.
T-Rex. You know, he's got this length, these long arms, and this good knowledge of the game that he wins with. And, you know, I think Thibodeau has that too. But I think Thibodeau's athletic profile is what carries him above for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the debate at the top if you're going to go edge. But I do think at the back end of the first, really early second, where you have that second round pick, edge is still very good when you get back there. I'm talking Jermaine Johnson the second, who's going to be probably one of my guys in this process. Excellent run defender as well. Another guy who's unlocking more as a pass rusher, transferred from Georgia, dozen sacks, 17.5 tackles for loss at Florida State.
Jeez.
That dude was on Georgia last year as well.
That's just
Georgia,
absolute
stop it. Stop hogging the front seven.
JJ two times.
But Jermaine Johnson's very good.
He's good.
I think Cameron Thomas could rise after Mobile. Extremely athletic player. Probably in more of the mold of Walker that we talked about earlier, who's a little bit bigger, but he's darn athletic as well. I believe he had 20 and a half tackles for loss for San Diego State. So if you don't believe in one of those two at the top, there's a really good chance you're going to get a nice player early in the second round that you're going to be happy with. And heck, you know, you like a Majai Sanders, who's a loose, flexible type of player. You like a Nagbare, who's more of a power guy. You know, if you really want a speed guy who can get underneath and really dip and bend, you like Drake Jackson. There's a chance a lot of these guys are going to be available there.
Yeah.
If you really want to go edge, second round, I feel very confident in one of these guys, if you really like one of them, to be an impact player.
And honestly, you know, you talk about how you can get one of them at the back end. What if they just completely blind? And I guess it wouldn't be a complete blindside. Completely blindside, depending on what they do in free agency. If they address the line in free agency.
Yeah.
And they take somebody, you know, at a skill position. I was going to ask you coming into this. I know this is a little off topic.
Let's talk skill position.
Who do you think is the first skill position player to come off?
The first skill position.
Like Derek Stingley? Is it Kyle Hamilton?
Oh, secondary guy? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why. My first instinct is to call skill position anything that's not quarterback or line.
I got you. Yeah.
I've always been that way.
7-on-7 guys. Yeah.
Yes. The no pads.
Who comes off the board first? I think is a really interesting conversation. When we go through a mock draft, I'm sure we'll go through a live mock draft.
We will.
It's very interesting to see how many teams could go tackle and edge.
Yeah.
Early, and you'd be like, oh, hey, Falcons, Broncos, end of the top 10. Do you want Stingley or Hamilton?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's crazy because, like, as many Jets fans have pointed out, they don't necessarily need a corner. Like, they like Bryce Hall. They like Michael Carter II. They like, Eccles, the guy who picked Brady off. Mm-hmm. They like those guys. So they might go up front and say, let's get edge, let's get tackle, let's roll.
Yeah.
And they skip it all together unless they take Hamilton. But I don't think they're going to take corners. So Stingley could be available in the second round.
Yeah. The beautiful thing is I don't think we'll have like a super surprise quarterback pick, at least not in the top 4. Unless not top 4 or 5.
The Panthers is like the first. Happens. Well, I think the Giants now come into the discussion because this sounds like new coach, new GM deal.
I just have a feeling Kyle Hamilton ends up with the Giants.
No.
Call it a sneaky suspicion. But I just have a feeling that's where he ends up.
I want my favorite players from going to these teams that I don't want them to go.
I know, it hurts.
It happened last year, Nate, and you know it. You were here. It happened. Devontae Smith went to the Eagles. That's not where I wanted him to go.
It hurts, dude.
Ah.
It hurts. And then I think on top of that, I think after that we'll see somebody a quarterback go to the Panthers right after that.
That's what I'm thinking. Unless the Panthers move back somehow.
Are you thinking like Kenny Pickett?
That's what I think it is right now.
Yeah, me too.
In the quarterback class, we're asking our own questions in this Q&A to each other. I
Woo!
love that. Guy said Grenard was good with the Texans. He was.
I actually agree with this take.
Deep edge class, I don't think they take pass rush at 3. They could take Hamilton if they really want that defensive cornerstone piece. I could see that for sure. No doubt.
Yep.
Like they could definitely go that direction.
I would not be surprised if they go away from the pass rush. I think
they
might roll with it. I really do.
I think what's interesting, and then we can talk about this. Maybe we'll go Texans next week. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll go Texans next week. But like, they could trade Laramie Tunsil for picks. Like, if you need a tackle bad, and you have, I mean, maybe you want Tunsil. You know what he is. The Texans will say, yeah, thank you very much. We'll take some more picks.
Yeah.
Then Charles Cross is going 3rd.
Yeah.
Or Equinu's going 3rd.
Oh, my gosh.
And then they're like, all right, we want a defensive piece. There's so much to this draft where it's like when you have so much talent on defense and you have these elite offensive linemen and you have these receivers who we're about to talk about, because I want to talk about this for the Jags before we finish up here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just going to be really odd at the top. It's going to be that like that draft where Fisher and Luke Jokel and Lane Johnson went early. And you're kind of like, where are these quarterbacks coming off, by the way? Like, are they going to come off the board or at all or no? But sticking with the Jags, we've talked about edge. We talked about tackle. I don't think they go any other direction early with the top pick. I don't see it. Even if they move back, I still think a Karlaftis, an Ojabo, a Cross, an Equinu, I think those guys are all in play. Second round, it gets interesting because there are some receivers, Nate, that are, I think, pretty solid. If you want to move up for a Jameson, who we talked about earlier,
yeah,
you can do that potentially if you want to.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of guys that might slip into that range. Jahan Dodson might be there in that range. There's plenty of potential.
The real wild card is, will George Pickens declare?
Oof.
That is the wild card of this receiver group. If Pickens declares, there could be a very good player available at 33.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
I think he would definitely. If you go back and
it
watch
might not
him
even
play,
be Pickens. That's how good he can be.
True.
So it might not be Pickens. He may push a dude out of where they're at.
That man, if he declares, I think he's early second. I think he's an early second.
Which puts him right in the range. If the Jaguars want
that's true,
an athletic, explosive, fast, big, long receiver who can win deep to pair with Trevor Lawrence. It sounds pretty good if George Pickens is available. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good to me.
If you want somebody that you can just yeet it down the field to, John Mechie might be there.
John Mechie would be interesting. I think he will definitely be there at 33.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if I said maybe.
He came in with high expectations this year. Jameson kind of
he overshadowed him, which has kind of been the story of John Mechie's career.
But
that's what happens when you go to Bama. Though.
Yeah. I don't know where Pickens ain't running no 4.9. He not a tackle.
That would be
kind of wild. I don't think so. I don't think he's blowing past Bama corners and running that slow.
No, he's fast.
Even if he runs 4.6, I don't care. Play speed looks better. He's faster than David Bell.
I mean, his separation is super good.
Like George Pickens, we forget about him.
Yeah.
We forget about George Pickens because he didn't play much this year.
Yeah.
David Bell's another interesting one, Nate. Do you think that's a guy you would take there if you're the Jaguars? I'll tell you what, he came up big when Purdue needed it in 2 big games against top 5 opponents at the time.
That's true. This is kind of the type of guy we see usually pass through this process and be available there on day 2. And he's also the kind of guy that we see do that and then have a really good long pro career.
Yes, because he's a second-round player who's just good.
Yes,
right? He's just good. Just good. And just do good things over there.
He's actually from the high school, Warren Central, that is in the town where I lived for a few years.
Interesting.
Until recently moving to Texas. Yeah.
Caleb, we will get to your question, I promise.
That was just a really random fun fact.
That's pretty cool.
He's a really big deal there. But
Caleb,
local kid, like humble guy that can pretty much run the entire route tree. And Purdue really worked him into every touch they could.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's not going to be this overly explosive, fast,
no.
this elite change of direction that we've seen guys like Judy. You know, you see these really efficient change of direction guys like I mentioned Judy, but, you know, Jalen Waddle was like this. Devonta Smith was uber efficient. He's not maybe uber efficient, but dang it, catch point, adjust the ball, work everywhere in the middle of the field. His build-up speed's good. His initial, the acceleration burst isn't great, but the build-up speed is enough where he can win at every level. I wouldn't hate that for Jacksonville either. John Dotson would be interesting. A little smaller.
A little different type of wide receiver than what
that to me
imagine.
Feels like you got a Allen Robinson in your room now.
Yeah. I think you bring back Allen Robinson and go with one of those other guys.
Yeah,
I think
you're
hitting it right on.
Yeah, if you got Robinson, you bring him back. I like Dotson then much more. That's a Z. That's a guy who you feel like, can just, again, the separation's a lot better. The speed's better. He plays at the catch point pretty darn well. But yeah, I think you mentioned Mechie, which I think would be interesting in like the third even, potentially.
Yeah.
You know, another guy who's gone through some injuries, but just a really nice number 2. Just a really
I mean, there's a lot of receivers that slate up for the early second round. Like, there's a lot of guys. Like, we haven't even gotten to Drake London. We haven't gotten to Garrett Wilson. We haven't gotten to any of those guys. You know, different types of wide receivers, obviously.
Yeah. I can't wait to talk about this receiver group. It's a blast.
It's fun. It's
a fun
really fun.
It's a fun group.
I didn't get to see the Senior Bowl wide receivers.
Just watch my video, Nate, on the Senior Bowl.
I will go watch it right after
has all the
this.
receivers on there. But yes, I did do a little international reaction video for those here.
Nice
on the
plug.
Senior Bowl guys. We'll probably cover that in a show. Like I said,
I think
it was a very surface level thing, but it kind of hovers over some key players. But the Senior Bowl's got some guys. Dotson's there.
If we can't get to the Senior
Nate.
Bowl, I vote we
go.
No,
Nate,
Matt
we're
House
going.
on Vegas.
No, we're going. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. We'll be there. Dotson's gonna cook though.
Yeah.
Dotson's gonna cook people down there.
Yep.
But yeah, I think one other position I want to talk about really quick for the Jags is tight end, because I think Dan Arnold's been good, but there are some guys that the Jaguars could look at. Trey McBride's become everybody's favorite, I think, in tight end for a lot of people, because he blocks his tail off and size, wins at the catch point type of player who's phenomenal after the catch with toughness and balance. Like that's a good player. And if the Jags really want, like, you know, a do-it-all guy, Dan Arnold's more of a receiving guy. If you want to do-it-all guy like McBride, Cade Otton would be interesting as well. Not as much talk about him because Washington was like actually bad this year, like bad.
Yeah.
Didn't use him very well. I think he's well-rounded as well. The Senior Bowl is going to have some guys there too. Jake Ferguson. There's going to be for Jacksonville, and it's just about Trevor Lawrence. Do you want to talk about the interior guys for a second, Nate, before we get to Caleb's question and then sign off?
Oh, I wanted to mention an obscure not obscure, but a relatively untouched tight end.
Okay.
Jalen Weidermeier out of Texas A&M.
I feel like we don't talk about him much because he was always there and just kind of went about his business. Go ahead.
He's just consistent.
The floor is yours.
He's steady. You know, he's steady. He's a receiving tight end. He's an NFL tight end. He is a built-to-speed runner. You know, he doesn't have that explosive burst, kind of like we were talking about with some of the wide receivers. He's not going to beat you down the field. But if you need a guy over the middle that's going to take it and then deck a linebacker on a slant route, it's Jalen Weidermeier. At Texas A&M, you know, you go back and you watch his game tape, there's plenty of it. You know, Alabama, Mississippi State, Arkansas. Yeah. There's just a lot there. If you have not watched Jalen Weidermeier, that is one of the few tight ends that I've made it to.
Yeah.
Do it now. Not right now. Do it after the video.
Yeah, after the video.
We're almost done.
I will say, just to highlight interior line, and Caleb, we're about to get to your question for the finish up a Q&A, but Zion Johnson is just like good, like really, 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 really good.
Yeah.
From Boston College, moved back inside this past year. If the Jaguars have needs at guard and they don't bring back one or two of those guys, Zion Johnson, top of the second, dude, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me because he'll just plug him in at guard, and enormous hands, like enormous.
Yeah.
Grip strength is really good. He's a line of scrimmage resetter type.
I'm excited to see his measurements.
Oh yeah, because he'll be at the Senior Bowl as well. There are legit reps. If you watch Boston College, if you even just go watch like the games on YouTube, you will see this. The rest of the line has given up ground, and Zion Johnson's just still standing at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like legitimately, you can go see these. That is a thing that happens a lot. Just because he's that good, like you just don't move him. He moves you. Like you're not moving him.
I would say the same about Darian Kennard as well.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody that was a long tenured starter at Kentucky who is just going to slot right into the NFL.
Oh, boy. Why suddenly I feel like we've hit this, like, what's with these like 350, 360 pound tackles now? It was like, it used to be a dime a dozen because Trent Brown came out and it was like, whoa, like he's big.
I don't know.
And then the Mekhi Becton, it was like, whoa, he's big. And now we've got Evan Neal. We've got Kennard. Like, all these guys are Fa'alale from Minnesota, same way.
Yeah.
These dudes are big.
I don't know, man. I think Kennard's going to start as a guard. I really do.
Oh, if they move him at guard, I have no problems. I have no qualms.
I think that's where he's going to be. You know, he's got the power and strength, but the movement, he's more fluid than I thought he would be. But
yeah. Just Baltimore round 2, check.
Oh, yes. Go for it.
Baltimore round 2. Just
send in the pick right now, Baltimore.
There you go. Happy, move along and enjoy yourself. You maybe could slot right tackle depending on what you run.
Yeah.
Maybe Tennessee.
He is going to be a really
maybe Tennessee.
That would be a good one. Run heavy, play action heavy offense is what I was going to say. So that fits spot on.
Not ruling it out.
We did not plan that ahead of time.
Not ruling it out, but that's fun. See this, I've missed this. We have a lot of fun on this show. Caleb, we're going to get to your Q&A now because
it's
that time. One question. It's a big one though. Sam Howell or Kenny Pickett? Caleb says he's torn for QB1.
I'm not.
Are you?
I'm not torn. I'm not torn at all.
Between the two?
Nope.
No.
I'm set. I've been set for
You've been
about
set.
a week and a half now.
Look at this. You are set.
Nate's gonna.
What?
Take a guess.
I think for you it's Kenny.
Yes. I've seen Howell play in person. I was not impressed.
Really?
I've seen his tape. I'm not impressed. He's up there. He's good. But he has these moments where it's just like, what are you doing? And
sounds like Carson Wentz.
Probably can coach those out.
Yeah.
But man, if I had to pick one or the other right now, I'm taking Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh.
It's so hard because I have this weird feeling that we're all just gonna rag on Sam Howell enough,
and he's gonna
in the process, and he's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And we're all gonna be like, why did we do that? I think Howell's gonna be higher than most. There are some people who have him at QB1. There's a guy who I pretty respect in the industry who does a lot of fantasy stuff. You'll probably find his stuff on YouTube if you're probably following him at this point. If you're following me, but like he does a lot of stuff, and he's got Howell at 1. He has now wavered from it.
I just can't.
I don't hate it.
I just can't.
But then again, I hate this quarterback. So
yeah, it's not great.
So
it's
Caleb, I'm gonna say Kenny Pickett for now. But I'm telling you, I think Howell is right there. For me.
Who
do you have after Pickett? Is Howell low for you, like lower than?
No, Howell's actually 2.
Howell have him at 2. Okay.
Yeah, Howell is actually 2.
I would.
Corral is 3. Okay. And those two
I have strong 3. Between. I have strong 3.
Yeah, but I need to revisit Corral, and I definitely need to revisit.
I think the Corral. I think the Corral thing with a lot of people now is like, okay, it is like can you do other things than RPO quick game for me?
Yeah, Ravens.
Right. It's like all right. Do we want to do this whole Tua thing on another team?
Right.
That's what I'm worried about. I think he's done a lot better at limiting horrific plays. He doesn't have the WTF moment that, the Howell has necessarily, or that Corral had last year. Corral last year was like, like, oh, yes, and what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He had both of those, and I think that Willis and Ritter kind of have that as well. Still, but Caleb says strong QB3. I see, Caleb, you're a man of culture as well. I like Carson Strong.
Yeah, I like Carson Strong too.
This will be the year that I like Carson Strong, and I like the strong arm dude, and he's not going to be good. And I'm be like, gosh dang it, these strong arm guys are giving me headaches. Josh Allen, Justin Herbert.
Did you like Drew Lock?
No,
I didn't think so.
That's the big one for me. That's the big W that I have with the strong arm. I was like, no, I had him like 75th.
Yeah, I knew he was pretty low.
Then again, though, I had both Haskins and him above Daniel Jones, which was wrong. Not that Daniel Jones has been good. That class also at quarterback.
Yeah.
When Gardner Minshew's number 2, just saying.
No, thank you.
Not a great class.
10-foot pole.
Not a great class. But yeah, I think Strong is a stud. I think with what he
like this one.
Does pre-snap and the strong arm, the tight window throws he can make, he feels poised. Obviously, it's legitimately he is not going to be able to run around. He can maneuver, aka like a Tom Brady. Peyton Manning can move around. That's not a comparison. Don't clip this. Stop.
I already did.
YouTube clipping people out there. He's going to be that statue who has to maneuver around well to buy time. He's not going to buy time outside anywhere of the pocket. He can't outrun. I don't think he could outrun Tom right now. Okay, that's saying something, but dang it, within structure, I like him. So yeah, hopefully we kind of gave some options and really kind of helped fix the Jaguars. I think we'll get back in the groove. We'll get back in the groove as we keep doing this. We'll see what we do. Maybe we'll kind of split the shows and kind of do positions and maybe a team if you guys want us to do a team going forward. But you guys should really be thanking Nate because I asked him to do this. It's not his channel. And for him to sit in and do this for an hour on Thursday night is legendary. He's a great friend, great human.
There's nowhere I would rather be. It feels good to be back in the groove.
The NFL draft groove is a fun groove when you're.
I'm gonna work on the lighting situation. I promise.
Yeah, Nate's gonna get some lighting. I'm gonna get
my
Nate
studio.
I'm gonna get Nate some aperture lights.
Yeah,
on Amazon.
I recently moved like 5,000 miles across the country away from my home.
You should get one of those LifeX little lamps. They're like really small. They're like really the small ones. Not that you have to put them up everywhere, but like the small little that might help. But
I'm hoping when I move,
donate on the channel when we hit 1,000 to send Nate stuff for lighting.
Yeah, no joke. I'm hoping when I move, I'll have 2 bedrooms and I can set one up exclusively for us.
Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoyed this little dive into Natty, talk Jags, talk a lot of draft prospects. We got through a lot more than I thought we were going to because we got off on tangents like we often do.
Yeah,
that's just how we roll. So you guys got to have to roll with us. Thank you, Caleb, for that question at the end. Guy for hanging out. Jesse for popping in. Appreciate it. That was fun. Smitty, if you're still here, we appreciate you a ton. Can't wait for next week. I wish Twitter would behave. With all that happens with the comments and whatnot. We're just gonna have to wait on it. So YouTube's the way to go. But it'll obviously be on Twitter as well. But for Jake, for Nate, we'll see you guys next week from NFL Draft Live.
Verified Dick Butt Kiss. His Twitter account is unverified. Do it now.